Howdy, y'all. Activasol on roids here with another nuclear-powered rant. That's Activasol on roids, kryptonite for conservatives. I'm off my roids, on the warpath, uh, yada yada yada. Yeah, you've heard the rest. Tonight, um, I guess I'm just gonna jump on the bandwagon with a lot of other folks. I mean, why not? And talk about this Phil Robertson guy from this white trash television show that started on History Channels, is now on A&E, Duck Dynasty and all that. Yeah, the guy from Duck Dynasty who got suspended from the show. Um, the point of this video, I don't really think there is a point because I'm going to be going off on a lot of different tangents, but I'm guessing I'm gonna try to grope for a point to this video, I guess. Try to put things in context a little bit. I think the real question that really needs to be asked is the one that Dusty and that Dusty over at Cult of Dusty and TJ over at Amazing Atheist made when they were asking the question: is anyone really surprised by this? I mean, this is a guy who historically, Phil Robertson. Here is a guy, a yuppie who threw away his high-end outfit and put on camo and grew a beard to appeal to the dumb, shit-kicking, backwoods, redneck cousin fuckers of the world who perpetuate taking on the look that perpetuates the stereotype of southern rural white dudes. Is it any surprise that this guy, who had a history of openly pining, alluding to the days of Jim Crow and defending them, of being an apologist for the state of the human condition, is it any that existed under Jim Crow for many millions of African Americans in the South? Is it any surprise that this man went off on one of his bigoted, homophobic rants on the show? And that's what I'd like to know. Is it really any surprise? Why are we even talking about this asshole? One, we have bigger fish to fry. And I know I'm contradicting myself by saying this in the middle of the video, but this, I guess, I don't know, let me start all over with this. Again, no clear point in this video, but is it any surprise that conservatives are jumping on the bandwagon started by Palin and Bobby Jindal in coming to the defense of this inbred, mouth-breathing fake? I mean, I'm sure he's inbred and he's a mouth breather, but he's also a fake redneck, because you look at the pictures of him from before he signed on to this show, and it clearly, he's a different person altogether. I mean, he's probably still a bigot, but he probably would pass for your Walmart manager. But we have to look at the fact that just as George Zimmerman was the poster boy for the NRA crowd, for the NRA backwards, conspiracy nuts, the whole, oh, they're going to take away our guns bullshit, martyrdom, they need a martyr. This guy's providing some kind of a martyr for Republicans, for conservatives who hold on to this whole good old days notion that never really existed in this country, but exists in their minds, this fantasy. He's the martyr for the crowd that believes that there was such a thing as a good old days. or at least the good old days that they think existed, before liberalism, before the civil rights movement, before the days of Jimmy Carter, before Lyndon Johnson. He embodies this romanticist idea that Republicans have held ever since the John Birch Society was founded back in the 1940s. It's important to remember that the John Birch Society, when it finally spread to the South, the chapters popped up almost as quickly as the existing Klan chapters that were already there. The John Birch Society and other groups like it, the militia movement even today, the sovereign citizens movement, that's built around the remnants of groups like the John Birch Society, and the whole tax protesters crap that sprung up after the Second World War, that largely stayed underground until the Reagan years. These things, they stem. Most of these things stem from this romanticist fantasy, and Phil Robertson, to conservatives, he embodies this fantasy, and they're going to come. He embodies this fictional idea of what America was like in the 50s before Jim Crow was abolished. Remember, even during its nascent stage, conservatives like William F. Buckley Jr. were actively voicing their support for Jim Crow in the South, coming out against the civil rights movement. Barry Goldwater in that region ran on the states' rights platform and helped peel away white Southern voters from the Democratic bloc by appealing to the very racist, Redeemer, neo-Confederate, and nostalgia fantasies that they themselves had based on historical revision. So this man, Phil Robertson, what can anybody really expect? This is a show that was started on the History Channel, a channel that even before it went white trash, redneck reality TV, even before it went in that direction, it was already pandering to the conspiracy theorists of the world and the gun nuts of the NRA and all that junk, with all of its different shows that glorified violence, and everything. It's one thing to teach history. It's another thing, my friends, when a channel is deliberately going out of its way to make it seem as if the Cold War never ended, and for a lot of its audience. I mean, on documentary, in quote, specials on the History Channel back before it went in the direction of the reality TV Honey Boo Boos of the world, it was, they would always have conspiracy nuts offering their opinion next to, say, a real expert, and acting as if there was any real comparison between the conspiracy nut retard who sits around in a basement somewhere and the actual expert on the history. But they did that anyway because they understood who their audience was. Redneck shit kickers. But this kind of show and the kind of person that Phil Robertson is, he resonates with a lot of these people. And I understand that please understand. I'm asking y'all, please understand that yes, there are millions of people in the South like this, but there are millions of other Southerners that are not like him. I mean, there are progressives, there are millions of progressives, Greens, others living in the South. It's just that there are millions more than us who believe in the South, who believe in this fictional, nostalgic, revisionist idea, this romanticism. I mean, again, I'm going to keep on going after this. I've got. um, when this guy back in the day, before he made his little comment, his little bigoted comments about gay people, and then hid behind religion like a coward, like 90% of the bigots that live in my area, like 90% of the fucking bigots who go after, who disparage the gay and lesbian community in this country. When this guy made his remarks back in the day concerning the state of race relations in the South during the Jim Crow era, stating that, oh, there wasn't none of that because we grew up on the farm, yada yada. Just trying to be an apologist for them, saying that, oh, black people were happy back then before all this stuff. Yeah, I mean, of course he's gonna say they were happy, because the fact of the matter is, black Southerners had to pretend to be happy. They had to pretend to be okay with things. In front of other white people at the time, they had to pretend to be happy with the situation, because if they didn't, the Klan would go all Kritea on their asses like they were the Eloi, and they would kill them. They would beat them and harass them if they didn't pretend and put on a good show for them. Black people living in the South, black Southerners, they had no recourse except to just sit there, take it, and pretend to like it, just to draw attention away from themselves, to keep the heat of the local Jim Crow advocate lynch mob mentality peckerheads from going after them. Hell, they'd wind up being in a Clucker's crosshair if they didn't. So of course, blacks in the South are going to pretend to like what they have, because they know if they didn't at the time, there's a good chance they would have been beaten or killed. Hell, he's probably one of this Phil Robertson guy, he's probably one of these retards, these racist assholes who stands around saying, well, I have a black friend. I have a black friend. Yeah, that's the thing about black friends, the token black guy. Waving your hand at him just because, and having him wave back just because, and with a smile on his face just because he works at the post office you go to every other week, does not make him your friend. All right, that doesn't mean you're his friend. You're just using him as a fucking prop. And I know about this shit. I grew up with this garbage. My old man would always say, "Well, I got some black friends. There's a few good black people, and I like them." Yeah. There's a few good black people, because it's a tacit admission on his part that he believes that black people overall are evil or are inferior. I've seen this token black guy bullshit thrown around by white southern rural men my whole life coming up down here. And, that's what I find most insulting about Phil Robertson's remarks. He assumes, as TJ said in his video, and no, this isn't really a response to him. This is just my personal opinion. I just went and watched his video, but I don't really think TJ was right in his video. But at the same time, I don't really think he provided enough context for why Phil Robertson's comments were so fucking BS. you know, why they smacked of so much garbage. Which, you know, living in Mississippi, I think he lives in Mississippi. I don't know if he was raised in the South. I doubt TJ was actually raised in the South, so he probably didn't see this growing up in the culture. But I'm trying to give that perspective here. You know, when as TJ said, when Phil made those remarks on his show, Phil assumes, like most conservatives, that, and like Sarah Palin and like Bobby Jingle, that the rest of America, that there's this silent majority that still agree with them. And the fact of the matter is, there is no silent majority. It's nothing more than a silent appeal to a magical majority that says that as long as we can get 20%, 25%, the Dick Cheney fan club to agree with us, that's all that matters, because they're the only true Americans. That's what it is. The silent appeal to the majority. The appeal to the majority really is the appeal to what they believe are the only true Americans when they say this. It ain't us. It's not you or me. It's not the millions of Southerners that don't side with these assholes. It's the 60% of Southerners who happen to be white, backwater trash, or rich elitist assholes themselves, who are selfish to the bone and raised on the milk of Ayn Rand and Paul Ryan, Ron Paul bullshit, that believe that garbage, that believe this wholeheartedly. The fact of the matter is, the whole redeemer mentality of the Ku Klux Klan never left this region. And I doubt that it will in the next 200 years. We need to understand that the right-wing John Birch Society contingent of America, the Tea Party contingent, the Libertarian Party contingent, they're always going to be with us. They're always going to be with us. There's always going to be a Phil Robertson. There's always going to be an Ann Coulter somewhere. There's always going to be a Sarah Palin out there, or a Bobby Jindal, or a Chris Christie. There's always going to be this particular faction of neo-Confederate, states' rights, coded language, wearing pieces of rightist garbage, who will defend the local elites alongside of the Washington consensus elites and the Wall Street elites. They're always going to be there. They're always going to be the controlled opposition. And many of them, in fact, aren't really part of the controlled opposition, but are, in fact, part of a real opposition that do believe in this stuff, that do believe that they're going to be one of the 1% one day. And they're always going to believe they're the only true Americans. They're always going to believe that they're trying to take this country back to the good old days. They're always going to be fighting that good fight that they think they're fighting, all the while doing everything they can to take their big rightist cock and shove it up the ass of all the progress we made throughout the 20th century. It'll never be enough for them. Once they've gotten rid of every last vestige of the Great Society reforms, they'll go after every last vestige of the New Deal reforms, every last vestige of the progressive reforms. They're doing that now through the American Legislative Exchange Council. They're doing that now through the third wave with the funding of Pete Peterson. They will never quit. This group will never go away. You'll always be fighting them. But that's the thing, though. That's the thing. We must never again make the mistake of celebrating a victory over these assholes. Because no election, we do this after every major election. We think, oh, well, it's okay. Now we can drop our guard. It's okay. Now we can drop our guard because we've won. We won. No. Fuck it. No. Hell no. We didn't win shit. Elections don't mean a damn fucking thing to these people. And they mean even less when our side has a few of these jackasses on it. Elections don't get rid. They don't do anything about diffusing or neutering this off the rails freakazoid neo-Confederate craziness that exists. The states' rights Bircher crowd. It does nothing. Elections don't mean anything to them. They don't go away. They just mutate, change their name, come back even worse every time we beat them. Celebrating and lulling yourself into a false sense of security gives the Phil Robertsons of the world, the Ted Nugents of the world, the Alex Joneses, the Charles Kochs, the David Kochs, the Pete Petersons, the Sarah Palins, the Bobby Jindals. It gives them the opening they need to come back even worse. People like Phil Robertson, they're always going to be around. They're always going to be a part of this country every bit as much as the good people, as the people who care about being socially responsible, about being open-minded, about being, about supporting pluralism in society, about being pro-democracy, both financial and civil in scope and scale. People like that are always going to be the opposition. And we can't let our guard down. We cannot surrender. We cannot unilaterally disarm. We can't even take time to celebrate, because you can be sure that the next day they're getting ready for the next round of, whether it's misdirection or distraction, or the next round of electioneering or rigging the elections. And, don't take your eyes off these people. Hell, I wouldn't even, Phil Robertson might even wind up being on the show very soon, and I wouldn't even put it past A&E to have suspended him just to get higher ratings for the show, knowing that they were going to bring him back anyway. Again, this is Active Asshole on Roids. I said maybe 70% of what I wanted to say in this video, and I probably forgot the other 30. Again, my thoughts are out there, they're jumbled up. But whatever. This is just my 5 cents on the Phil Robertson remarks. Active Asshole on Roids. Peace out, guys.